As soon as the first structure went up, we started getting visits by code enforcement, and then they deemed the structures unsafe, which is bullshit because the same structures are used in tiny home communities all over the U.S. And then they actually hit us with 18 misdemeanor charges. So it's actually a criminal offense in Las Vegas to build tiny homes to house the homeless on your own property. It's crazy.
That's unbelievably f***ed up, if I could be so bold.
Yeah.
Does someone want to give a quick rundown of both New Leaf and Suede and what they do?
Sure. I'll do Suede real quick. Suede is a sex worker organized and run mutual aid fund for sex workers. We give financial grants, contraceptives. Now we're doing fentanyl test strips, drink test kits for people who do like on-site jobs. We do all kinds of cool stuff. Jazz has actually been helping a shit ton with that too. And we're actually getting Caitlin involved in some stuff with the abortion access and all that kind of cool stuff. So it's sick, man. And yeah, Joey supports us as well. We all like we commingle, I guess. But yeah, Suede is now officially a 501c3. So those donos are now tax deductible, which we can provide you with receipts and stuff for, which is pretty sick. I'm working on now. Summer, Hart, and I are working on getting Tiltify to allow us to be on Twitch for a direct like fundraising button. But yeah, so we've given over $100,000 in grants to people who needed help. Yeah, we've done a lot with Suede. So then, yeah, y'all go ahead and do New Leaf.
Joey, do you want to?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, shout out Suede. Y'all doing amazing work. Just all the resources y'all provide. It's so necessary out here. And yeah, shout out Summer and the other sex workers that are with Suede because y'all are our major donors for New Leaf. You know what we do and what we've been able to accomplish wouldn't have been possible without the sex worker community out here in Vegas. But yeah, New Leaf Building Community is just a loose knit collective of anarchists and leftists and other like minded folks that recognize the need in the community and did our best to meet that need, which is housing for our houseless community out here. And we build tiny homes, more specifically, they're Conestoga huts. So they look like almost like a covered wagon type design. And we've built over 30 tiny homes, which unfortunately have, in two separate raids, all been destroyed by the state, except for two that we have at the Care Complex, which is located in the Corridor of Hope here in Vegas, which is kind of like, I don't know, think like Vegas's Skid Row. And then we have three of them, which we attach to trailers in an attempt to like not get them destroyed. So yeah, we've been doing this since the beginning of the pandemic, and it's been in direct response to COVID. We started during the shutdown when they were telling everybody to, stay home and almost like shelter in place, and so we were trying to help folks living on the streets to do the same. So we started building tiny homes at an encampment of like 150 plus people, and we helped them grow their community there by 28 tiny homes. And we're successful in fending off like 3 different raids where they tried to destroy the tiny homes. And then during the holidays, over a year ago now, they came unannounced in like a pre-dawn raid and destroyed all 28 of those tiny homes. Yeah, long story short, we ended up buying private property and started building on a piece of land that we were able to purchase. And we had 4 tiny homes on there, sheltering 4 people. and it's the same 4 residents that had previously been housed at the encampment. And just recently, well, how long has it been? Like a month now? Just like a month ago, they destroyed everything that we had spent the last, I don't know, maybe 6 months building. It was a beautiful community um, with a waste-led design, like fully self-sustainable. Trying to
And
grow
we only just
food.
got the folks on there living there for like 2 weeks, right? Like we spent months preparing the land, but only, I mean, how long was it that we were able to actually have folks living there before they?
Yeah, not even a month before. I mean, as soon as the first structure went up, we started getting visits by code enforcement, and then they deemed the structures unsafe, which is bullshit because the same structures are used in tiny home communities all over the U.S. And then they actually hit us with 18 misdemeanor charges. So it's actually a criminal offense in Las Vegas to build tiny homes to house the homeless on your own property. It's crazy.
That's unbelievably fucked up, if I could be so bold.
Yeah.
And I'm just scrolling through it right now. So what is, like, outside of just, you know, unparalleled human cruelty, what's the justification for any of this? Like, did they try to say that you weren't doing these to code? Because it looks like, I'm just looking at the picture right now, I've got it on screen, so I'll turn it on and off. I just want to block any of your beautiful faces. But these homes here, they look like you're using, I'm assuming, some kind of a technique that makes them able to be produced at a low investment. I mean, the style and the materials and everything.
Yeah, they cost about like $600 to make each a piece, and they're also like radical in the sense that it doesn't require a lot of building experience to create. Like just any volunteer can come through and participate in building a hut without like lots of knowledge or know-how.
So why? I mean, I don't have another way of putting it, but why the fuck would they do that? This seems like this is solving a problem. If people are saying like, oh, there's too many homeless people on the streets, we got to get rid of them somehow, and you're like, well, yeah, we've kind of solved that for you. We're housing them. Then why go through the trouble of destroying the homes?
Because police need to keep their budgets high,
You go.
so they need to roll out they bring all their bulldozers and shit, so that next year when they put their budget in, they can be like, oh, we had to spend this much on this and this much on this, so you need more money. That's my reasoning. that's what I feel like is going on.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a part of it. When they did the raid on the encampment, it was the end of the year, so it's like, yeah, that budget, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So, I mean, they had to have spent at least 6 figures in that demolition alone. Like, imagine what we could accomplish if they'd have just handed over that money to us. But as far as on private property, they, yeah, it's basically code stuff. It was code enforcement saying that the structures are unsafe and not up to code. So it's like subpar makeshift structures, they called it. But they're perfectly safe. They had a, smoke alarm and fire extinguishers. And what's safer, like, or what's more unsafe, living in a tiny home that we built for folks or living on the streets, is unbelievable. I don't know how they justify it in their head, but I know the mayor in North Las Vegas is like this piece of shit, pro-life, pro-Trump, fucking right-wing nut job, who's running for governor now, which is great. But
And I think another compelling point with this too is sort of just that like the zoning actually doesn't exist for what we're doing, and so because of that, yeah, like they use these outdated codes or laws or whatever to say like this isn't up to code. It's just, I mean, yeah, when it comes down to it, there is no justification. Like we can talk about what they say, but I don't even want to give too much airtime on that because.
Well,
like,
I was going to mention Just
Go
looking
ahead.
at your website, it seems like you've gotten a story on Local Fox, right? It says local nonprofits are joining together to build tiny homes. I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there would have been some kind of broad support for a program like this, right? Like even if you are the most inhumane, cruel kind of, I don't know, I just want to enjoy human suffering because that's what gets me off kind of person, like it's solving a problem that it seems like the city and broader society aren't ready to tackle. And so if even Fox 5 can be like, well, look at what they're doing, this seems to be a good program, how, like, does it have public support? Is this something, broadly speaking, that people want?
Yes, we do. Thank you for asking about that. And if the folks watching want to tap in soon, I think we're going to have an opportunity for them to contribute their support, like live coming up. Like if you want to just fill out a little Google form to like to really, we want to get that tangible.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we have a lot of public support. It was more than Fox 5. We have like plenty of media stories of folks who are like, wow, because it is. They're just like, oh, wow. That's a solution. Like they're offering a meaningful, tangible, accessible solution. So yes, we did have a lot of support. I don't know if anybody else wanted to answer on that, but
Especially once we got private property. So there was like people when the encampment got destroyed that was like, oh, well, you didn't own the land. I mean, first of all, it was on a public right of way. So I don't know how it can be a public right of way and also be private property. Like, how can you be trespassed from being in public? But anyways, so there were some people that didn't support what we were doing because they're like, oh, well, you did it on government land and you didn't get permission. Well, then we got private property and did it, and they still bulldozed it unannounced. So, yeah, I mean, I think I know why they destroyed it. You can say it's because of codes, but it's because of the radical nature of the work that we do, like mutual aid, direct action, grassroots led organizations like ours is a threat to the establishment. It is subversive in nature. And if we are collectively helping one another and coming up with solutions outside of government, that is a threat to them because they don't want to see us grow. So every time that a project like ours gets too big, they're going to stamp it out because if we're allowed to grow and flourish, imagine we did that in just a few months, like imagine if we're just allowed to grow unfettered for years, what it would look like. Eventually people are going to look around and be like, what the fuck? We don't need government. Why are they taking all these taxes from us when I could be giving to these people or showing up to help them? You know what I mean? So that's the issue for them is they don't want to see a bunch of anarchists coming up with solutions. They need to stop it.
How far back did this set you back? Like, is it something where you haven't been able to start rebuilding since, or has it been a situation where you've just had to diversify your tactics? Like, I know you mentioned you said you were buying the property now.
I mean, we already bought the property. The most recent destruction that happened to us was on property that we owned, private property that we owned, if you believe in that sort of thing.
Oh,
now,
no way. Okay, sorry, I misunderstood that. Sorry, I thought you were building that on an area that was kind of like undetermined, but that was on your own property.
Initially, we were, yeah. So just one more time to clarify for context, like the first go that we went, we were guerrilla building on government-owned public property. When we were demolished that first time at the first raid, a lot of what the folks said at that time in the public was, well, why are you building in an illegal place? That's not your property. You can't just build anywhere, whatever. So after that, with the support of sex workers in the community, we got the funds to buy our own private property, right? So, okay, if we can't build on public property, we're going to build on our own land. So we're on our own land, and even still, the police raided us, demolished all of our work on all of our huts and shelter, and that's the distinction. I can't remember the original point I was getting to, but yeah, to clarify with context, that was the timeline. Oh, no, your question was about like how rebuilding is going. Yeah, it's absolutely set us the fuck back. Our fines are so high, they're trying to fine us like $12,000 in violations and citations that we're just trying to keep the property before they try to take it from us at this point.
That's horrifying.
And then in terms of diversifying our tactics, like we are the comeback kids all the way. Like we are going to come back, whether or not we're building on the property. doesn't matter. We are already diversifying and figuring out how to create bike huts that can actually be pulled by bikes. Our amazing comrade came up with an amazing design that really has a lot of potential for mobility and safety and security for folk who are houseless. And we're already piloting that in the community. We've already gotten one out there on the streets, and we're set up to build another. So, basically the same week that this all happened, we had already bounced back with a new idea that hopefully will keep us less out of the hands of the police and the state.
So are the bike huts specifically being designed because they wouldn't fall under like housing restrictions and codes?
Yeah, partially. And I think the biggest part is the mobility aspect, that when somebody is told they're going to be swept, that they have the ability to pick up and take it with them and move to the next location, so that hopefully they can actually avoid some of these interactions with police because of that gained mobility. And we're even trying to figure out ways we might be able to attach them to mobility scooters for those who might not otherwise be able to bike and pull a hut that, is heavy and otherwise inhibitive. So yeah, really the mobility aspect is a huge component. And yeah, that it wouldn't fall under code. It wouldn't be considered a housing structure.
Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form. Available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, we are prepared to embark on a mighty jihad in your name. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your humble jester, attempting in vain to get you to laugh. To our valiant knights of the Round Table, Benji Arnie, Tech Tink, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Mayred, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood. It doesn't matter what I believe, it only matters what I can prove. Hagbird Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Coulter Smith, Jenna Tao, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multimondi, Trevbot, EXE, Brian Ephraim, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojak, Saren 42, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, Agent NDN, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We raise our mugs and salute our brave heroes off to another glorious conquest.